Folks, welcome back once again to a special report that we're doing here at WKNI TV 25. If you've been watching the past two segments, we're talking with Pastor Kenneth Sharpton Glasgow and John Carroll, both involved in this very passionately in this shooting in Headland, Alabama. One of the things I'll mention is we haven't really heard that much about this, and I'll bring this up to these gentlemen here in a question. Nowhere near like we heard about the shooting in Sanford, Florida. This is in Alabama, that was in Florida, and I'm from Sanford, Florida. That's my hometown. I mean, that's where my stomping grounds are in Orlando, Sanford area. And the media there picked up on this and carried it. And here we have a young man that is questionably by the neighborhood, by witnesses, by these two gentlemen in the same manner as the young man that was killed in Sanford. Their opinion is that it was unjust and it was uncalled for, not necessary. But yet, where is the national media? And I'm going to ask you that, Pastor Glasgow. You are related to Al Sharpton.
Yes,
Al
sir.
Sharpton was very vocal, and Jesse Jackson was involved in the Sanford thing.
Yes, sir.
Where are they here?
Well, we just did Al Sharpton's show last Thursday, and John got on the show with me, and we discussed this case along with Patrick Humphrey's sister, Lisa. And we did the show. He committed himself to being with us, and he will follow my lead on it. He told the family that, he told John that. So the national media is just picking up in it because we really, really had hopes that the local media would take it, and I had faith, I'm not going to lie, in our local DA, that this would be, the right thing would happen. That faith has been bewildered, I must admit, and so the national media is coming in. John did an article not only after we did my brother's show, Reverend Al Sharpton. He did, his article has also hit truthout.org, and I believe you got over 5 million hits already. So it is national as of right now, and it's picking up very, very fast.
All right. I'm in Andalusia, Alabama.
Yes, sir.
And the only mention of this that I've gotten is through very limited press releases on this. The Dothan Eagle followed it for a while.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and they've done a great job as far as me looking at a reporting side of it. They weren't biased or anything. They just reported what was going on.
Right.
And the other media just wasn't there. Right. And I'm curious about that. I mean, here I am, a small town, low power TV station, talking to people that are, I don't want to use the wrong word here, implying, okay, that there's been a huge wrongdoing in the community that we all live in. I mean, we're not that far from each other, okay? Headland, Alabama, I used to go there all the time, and that's Andy Bryant's hometown.
Maybe that's the problem, though, Mr. Lewis. Maybe the problem is that we don't have national outlet. The work I do in Atlanta, I go right there to CNN and all that. They pick it up. The AP pick it up and all. The Associated Press here should have picked this up. They did. They was going to do an article on the Bills, of course. But maybe that's the problem. So we do need national outlet here that would maybe diminish some of this corruption from continuing to go on.
Well, we have CBS, ABC, and NBC here. Go ahead, John. You're getting ready.
Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Look, I'm not going to run for office and probably not be the church deacon, so I just will say, I'll speak my mind. The Dothan Eagle has reported, and I'm not trying to argue with you, they have reported largely what the DA's office has told them. No one has to be a rocket scientist to go to a crime scene and ask someone standing 10 feet from the scene on their front porch, did they see what just happened, or the next door neighbor? It's just not credible. And we've got we've got people like Lance Griffin, good, decent, in my opinion, conservative writers. I think the Dothan Eagle is entirely too liberal in how they, for us, but it's just not credible.
On some subjects, I'll agree with you.
They have reported what the DA's office has told them, and that's part of the problem here.
Are you saying that the media is also being controlled by the DA's office?
I would say that they don't want to cross it.
We've already stated now that this DA is controlling law enforcement. Okay.
I would say that I didn't say that. I said what I would say is that he is very influential, like many DAs. This DA is, this guy's pasted all over. He spent thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars of our tax money to put his face on billboards. How about investing in investigations? That would be my criticism.
Well,
if you're a reporter for the Dothan Eagle,
does.
Get out of your office, get in your vehicle, and drive to the scene and interview real live people. That's my advice. That's what we did. And listen, we're not professional degree. We're just simple country folks up here in Texasville with 27 people. So, if we can figure it out, it's not that complicated. And you cannot, I want to say one more thing about this with this district attorney. And he may not like this. I'm sure he'll listen to this. And it may ruffle some feathers. But if we have a law enforcement official and the person responsible for prosecuting crimes, and we have a crime that involves a death, and you do not simply ask the next door neighbor and the person that lives directly across the street what happened, you need to be fired. You need to be dismissed. And if you're in the DA's position, the Attorney General needs to ask him to step aside and appoint a special prosecutor for this case.
So you're accusing the DA of being malfeasance of office?
I won't say it's malfeasance, but just because you got a law degree doesn't mean that you're competent. I'm just saying, don't invest tens of thousands of dollars of our tax money on billboards.
But you just said that he needs to be fired.
Oh, I think he absolutely should step aside. You can't fire him. It doesn't work that way.
Well, I mean,
there's no accountability.
And let someone else come in.
Or he can come forward and do the moral thing here. John, he can reopen the case.
John, I got to ask you, because this is what some of our viewers are going to be looking at here, okay? You said in one hand that he should be fired. And then I ask you, for what? Malfeasance?
Incompetence. How about that? I stand by that.
But you can't, okay.
Well, let me say this.
It's just not credible, Eddie.
Well, to add insult to injury, there's another case just took place. 3 weeks ago, a guy got shot. He dies 3 weeks later. Helen Police Department does the investigation. They get 4 people for murder and state that they'll continue to investigate and there'll probably be more arrests. But in the Patrick Humphrey case, who's a mental health patient, you didn't even investigate?
In your report, John, you stated that there was no past police history, as far as going out to that house. Is that correct?
Well, I think they've been there, but it's never been, he didn't have a violent past, a criminal record, or anything of that nature, I mean, if any of the officers been there before, have they been physically attacked by them? No. One of them knew him. So, I mean, I don't know how much you know about law enforcement, but I'll tell you this. It's also not credible that a guy with a badge, with training, that has a gun and a taser and a baton at his disposal cannot either wait for backup if he's in over his head or at least find some other alternative to a mental health patient than to shoot him in the street in front of his mother.
Excuse me. Let's throw this in there that has not came out yet. There were not one Tony Franks and 2 Tony Smith. There were also 2 other officers right behind Tony Smith.
Some moments away.
Well, I'm playing the devil's advocate here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You said in your article, in quite snippetly, referred to the police officer that arrived on the scene first as obese.
It's not muscle.
Well, let me go on with my train of thought. Obese, not fit, and all. I mean, this is what you allude to, and then that this young man.
Being kind.
Right. Okay. All right. Because I'm going to ask you to be real kind, because I'm going to give you something here in a second. Okay. And that this young man beats on the patrol car, in a threatening manner, okay, because nobody just walks up and just beats on top of the car, okay, without being threatening, slams the door on the police officer, okay, this is what's on the tape, then
Grabbed him by his shirt.
Grabbed him by his shirt, that's assault, okay, and a felony assault, by the way, because anytime you lay hands on a law enforcement officer, it's a felony, okay. So now you have a young man that is a mental patient that has committed a felony, okay. Now, nobody's mentioned, okay, there's pictures available of the bruises and the black eye on the patrolman that's in question. You won't deny that that happened, okay, because there's facts out there with that. And then you say he fell out of the car and couldn't get up 300 pounds, okay. Now, I'm being honest with you. I'm 300 pounds.
He's bigger than you.
Okay, I'm 300 pounds, and I have no problem getting up off the ground. And if my adrenaline's pumping, okay, I wouldn't have any further problem getting up as well. And if my job was in law enforcement, I would probably not have that. So I'm saying for me, okay? But if I'm beaten in the face, if I am injured, okay, as this officer is reportedly to have been, okay, because that's not in here. That's not in your story.
They wouldn't tell us that story.
I'm sorry?
They were given the opportunity to speak.
But you didn't put
declined.
that part of the story in there.
They didn't tell me that.
But you know that to be a fact.
I don't know it to be a fact until I hear it or see a police report, sir.
Okay.
And that's part of the problem with
And we asked
transparency.
for the ABI report, and
You know?
I haven't gotten it. John said he asked.
I'm trying to be fair.
No, I'm all with you on the devil's advocate position, and I will even go as far to say this. I mean, Frank's to me is really immaterial. If I'm a cop and a guy if I pull up to a scene and my partner's on the ground, a shot's been fired, and I have a man that I don't know, the suspect in question, approaching me in a threatening manner. If
That
I
just
shoot
beat
him,
up a cop.
I might. Well, he didn't beat up.
But
He
he
can't
didn't know
beat
that.
up that guy. Yeah, he didn't know that.
You don't know what was said on the radio.
Well, the
You
double zero
say
didn't
you
go
haven't heard
out.
the
We
tapes.
know. But
Okay.
but the double zero call didn't go out. But no one, I think, is at least from my perspective, I'm not questioning whether the act of shooting O'Patrick Humphrey is criminal. I think you can say that there were other alternatives that this police officer was trained in and he signed off on and is a copy of in his personnel file. That a mistake by a law enforcement officer under these circumstances does not mean it's criminal, okay? The murder here happened on the truth after the fact. The murder of the truth is the problem here. And that's where I have a big issue, because it's about untruth, you know. Put it out there, good, bad, or ugly. Put it out there, follow the law. It's not part truth.
Information being put out there.
No, there's no information. You do not violate the law. No one is above the law.
I understand what you're saying, but I mean, everything that we're alluding to here is each side is putting partial information into this. Because I just showed you in your news article that we read, and I wanted to read that part, especially about the law enforcement officer, okay, that it was not alluded to that he was injured, okay?
I can't verify that.
Well, were you told that he was?
I was not told by the Heatherland Police Department that.
You were told by witnesses?
No.
No. And I can allude to that.
I mean, the
because-
sources in law enforcement that have come forward and given us, you know, questions asked and
So you're saying
showed
that
us-
nobody in law enforcement came to you and said the man was beaten in the face? I know the answer to this, so I'm asking you to please tell me.
I can say that there are mixed opinions and that there is an evolving story from the night.
Have you seen the pictures?
No.
Okay. And this is because the
Can
lockdown.
I ask you a question?
Yes.
Have you seen the picture?
I'm not. It's not me. This is not about Eddie.
Because my question is, that's exactly my
Well, that's an excellent
Because
legal
my
question.
point-
about Eddie.
hold on,
That's
let
an
me say
excellent
this.
legal question.
Because my point is, well, how could you or anyone else see the pictures when you have the family and the advocate for the family that's been asking for them under the Open Records Act and can't see nothing?
Well, I'm going to share
And that's
this.
my whole point.
Okay, I'm going to share this, and again, all right, we're going to be fair.
But that's not fair.
I'm not judging any of this. I'm just playing the devil's advocate. Okay. Now you're saying that you want to be treated fair. You
That's
want
all.
you
That's
want
all the
you want
family
this
wants is
information
to
to
be
come
fair.
out. John, you want this information to come out. You want to be treated fair.
I want it to be handled
Why-
legally.
Why is it,
Professionally.
man? okay, that we're striking for the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're all three sitting here wanting the truth, but we're not given all the truth that we know of or in allude to. Okay, because you don't know if that man was physically unable to get up.
I'm quoting
because of his weight. Okay,
three primary eyewitnesses.
Because of his weight.
Yeah, because they said he got stuck.
That's probably a fair criticism.
Between the car
but
and the curb.
If you're hit in the face, Kenny, you and I have been hit in the face many times, I'm sure.
Right.
Okay,
right.
you become disorientated, you become confused. All right?
But
Could
he
that
shot.
not have been? Yeah, he shot and he didn't kill him.
No. But let's say this.
He shot a wild shot.
If we look at the state law of Alabama, I'm not a lawyer.
I don't think that's the question. Yeah.
But here's the question. Since you want to go there, I'm not a lawyer by any means, but in the state law of Alabama, you cannot shoot an unarmed man. In the state law of Alabama.
Right.
Okay? And this man shot at and just escaped an unarmed man. Now, in the autopsy report, the escape bullet went from an upward position from his left to his right, which means that Patrick Humphrey was in a retreating position, first of all. So even if he got hit, even if he was a beast, even if he was stuck, hurt, or whatever, he shot at an unarmed man, which is first of all illegal. So first of all, before we even get to the fatal shot, why did he shoot?
All right,
Where was his training?
Again, playing the devil's advocate.
Where was his training?
And again, playing the devil's
And
advocate.
that's my whole thing is, where's the training?
Well, I'd like to see you play the devil's advocate with the district attorney and why he refuses to release records.
I can't do that because I don't understand that.
I just want to be clear. From my perspective, I am not questioning these officers.
Okay, I'm trying to find out, but I want to answer your question, Kenny.
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm not a lawyer either.
Right.
All right. But I do know that if an officer feels that his weapon or he is in physical dire danger, that he can use deadly force. All right?
Okay.
That is technically incorrect. If you
it's very correct. If an officer's
he has to
weapon
be
is
threatened. It has to be a mortal threat.
If you grab the officer's weapon, you're a dead man.
I can quote the law. Well, I can quote the rule. Here's the use of force policy.
We don't know that.
Here's the use of force policy that both officers signed. And there's a 3-part Supreme Court test that governs that. You can look at Connor versus Tennessee online. Anyone can access it. The officer with the suspect, if the suspect has previously harmed someone or killed someone, then there's no question he can use deadly force. If he's harmed someone more, no, hold on. He didn't beat up a one-armed paramedic.
He didn't beat up a one-armed paramedic. The paramedic had one arm and couldn't just
But this is what's being
because
said.
the other paramedic
They respond. This is what the rules say. Okay? Otherwise, he has to be threatened with deadly force to respond in kind. Those conditions weren't met. So, I'll be the first to say, lights flashing, night, people yelling on the ground. No one here, at least in my camp, is saying that what these officers did is criminal. We don't know that. They could have just made a mistake and not followed their use of force policy, and unfortunately a mental health patient killed. But what is crystal clear is that the Headland Police Department and the District Attorney have not followed the law after this, and there's no excuse for it. And how do you think we're going to create trust in a community of color in South Alabama when you behave like this?
And as far as the advocacy part, what we try to do, as I said in the beginning in the first episode, we try to build cohesion between law enforcement and the community. What the community feels now is there's a breach of trust when it comes to the investigation.
What is the most prominent issue, other than the young man being killed? Okay, because that's upmost to me, is that there's a possibility that this young man was wrongfully killed.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's disturbing. Okay, I don't care if you're black, white, Mexican, Puerto Rican, don't matter to me. If you're wrongfully killed, there should be justice.
And he's a mental health patient
and
that they were aware of before they got to the scene.
Exactly.
That
okay, and I see all of this, but with that all being, I don't want to put it aside.
Right.
All right, but see, we went on several different issues already, and I wanted to throw these questions out there so you would share what these things are, because this is what my viewers are going to sit there and say, well, wait a minute, we heard there were pictures of this beaten cop, we heard that he was confused and disorientated, we heard that you say Patrick was withdrawing by the graze wound, okay, Oh no, he was drawn back to punch the cop in the face when he got shot.
Mm.
You understand where I'm going?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But he wasn't though.
But you weren't there.
That's true. We have 3 people that saw
We
that.
got 3
Right.
people that
But I'm
seen
just
the whole
saying
thing,
this is the
2 say one
message
thing
that-
and 1 says another.
There you go. But there's something that's coming together here,
Mhm.
all right? And that's what I'm trying to ask you right now, okay? What, out of all this, aside from the young man being killed that's mentally handicapped,
Mhm.
okay, and being done wrong in many different ways in y'all's opinion, what is the uttermost issue that you have? And I want you to think about it. We're going to take another break, okay? We're going to come back. I want to know what out of all of this,
Mhm.
okay, do you want to succeed in doing? Do you want to have race
Exactly.
riots in the street? Don't say anything.
Mhm.
Do you want to have, sensationalism nationwide for, hometown little newspaper? Do you want to become a governor of the state? Okay, these are questions that are fair. Okay, what is the main issue? We'll be back with more right after this.